Hello guys, this is Negedu Godwin and welcome to our free ultrasound lecture series. So today we're going to be looking at ultrasound physics. It's very important because there is no meaningful knowledge of ultrasound without concrete knowledge of the physics of ultrasound. A lot of people, a lot of students wouldn't mind skipping this class, but you need to understand that your ability to make proper diagnosis is embedded in your residual knowledge of the ultrasound physics you have. You may not always want to go back again and again to read the ultrasound physics to understand what you're looking at on the screen, but it plays a major role in your understanding. So as we proceed, you will see the reason why I say so. So why should we study ultrasound physics? And like I said before, the basic knowledge of ultrasound physics is vital to the correct application of ultrasound for diagnostic and therapeutic intervention. Image acquisition is highly operators dependent. How the image is acquired is dependent on the sonographer, dependent on the operator. It is not the machine. From practice over the years, I know with some patients, from what they say, they would think that the machine gives all the information that produces the final diagnosis. For example, the easy one to catch is when you do sex determination. In many cases where the sonographer may be wrong, the patient automatically will think that the machine is not good or the machine is telling lies or something like that. So it's funny to think, but we as professionals know that there are things the machine will do for you and the remaining majority of it you do for yourself based on your concrete knowledge. So remember that how you acquire the image on the screen is highly dependent on you, not the machine. Knowledge of physical attributes of ultrasound and image generation is critical to recognition of artifacts and prevention of misdiagnosis. Now, as we proceed in other paid courses, we will discuss artifacts and how they affect or help diagnosis in sonography. So your knowledge of physics, the understanding the property of sound, will give you an idea why certain artifacts are being produced. And when you understand why and how the artifacts are being produced, you will now understand or rather you'll be able to apply those artifacts knowledge in your diagnosis, because it's very key. Your ability to understand the artifacts will give you a proper diagnosis where necessary. It's not all artifacts that are good, but most of them help you have a good diagnosis. Modern diagnostic ultrasound system. Modern diagnostic ultrasound system use the same principle used in sonar, that is the pulse echo ranging technique, to produce images of the body. If you understand or if you have read your physics correctly, you understand that most of what we apply in medical science technology is actually mostly emanating from the military grade. Sonar in submarine is used for direction, calculation of depths, and all that. So the same principle is being used here. Just a pulse echo range technique that we use to produce images in the body. Now, piezoelectric crystals in the transducer convert an electric voltage into a short pulse of high frequency. The transducer is coupled to the skin with gel, and the pulse is transmitted into the body tissue in straight line. The tissue difference, the tissue differences are, that is the acoustic impedance mismatch in the body, produce echoes, that is reflections of those sounds, which are reflected back to the transducer. At the transducer, the piezoelectric crystals convert each echo back into small electrical voltages. Each echo signal is then evaluated for just 2 parameters. Now understand what is happening here. Your normal transducer has piezoelectric crystals. These crystals are materials that change their forms mechanically based on voltage change and stuff. So what happens is that when voltage is applied to some of them, ultrasound is produced. Now some are in that same array to receive vibrations from the returning sound, which triggers generation of voltage and so on. So, like we said, each echo signal is evaluated for just 2 parameters. The first parameter will be echo strength, also called echo amplitude. Echo strength is used to assign brightness to the echo on display in grayscale. So every brightness you see on your screen has to do with the amplitude of the sound. Never forget. And you appreciate that mostly in the grayscale 2D. And the second parameter is time. The time is used to calculate the distance to the reflector. From the transducer, each echo is sent to a receiving circuit where it is amplified and processed. From there, the signal is sent to system memory to be stored. In technical word is write, until a sufficient number of echoes are received to produce an image. This whole process typically takes about 1/20th of a second. So what happens is, as the echo return, that information is taken to the receiver of the machine. And the receiver determines, okay, this one is amplitude, this is time. This is amplitude, this is time. All those shades and dark, black and white, you see, those tiny dots represents time. Amplitude, time, amplitude. So it keeps on gathering it in a particular box until it is sufficient enough to produce an image. And all this happens in 1/20th of seconds. Once enough data has been stored, the data is read. Remember, the first part is it will be written. Now the data will be read from the memory and sent to the display monitor, the TV you have in your front, for viewing, and also to the recording device. If you are going to print, you're going to store in floppy disk, hard disk, or whatever for archiving. The entire process happens so quickly. The system is able to generate real-time display, like continuous movie, at a frame rate of about 30 frames per second. So the operating principle behind our modern ultrasound system is not really that complicated. Diagnostic ultrasound is a pulse echo range technique that uses a piezoelectric crystal to transmit short pulses of sound into the body, receives the reflected sound or echo, and display that echo data in real time 2D grayscale image. That's pretty cool. Don't you think so? So the components of the basic ultrasound system. So when you see an ultrasound machine, regardless of whether it's high end or whether it's low end, they all function on the same principle. So let's look at the components. So the first thing, we have the pulsar, we have the receiver, we have the display TV, we have the transducer, You have the memory, which is the scan converter. Remember, that's where the write and read occurs. Then we have the recording device, which is the, for some, in most cases, the printer, the floppy disks, hard disks, and so on. Now below you see the schematic diagram of a basic ultrasound system. This shows the primary components within ultrasound system and help to visualize the process of how the system works. So let's take a look. So here you see this is the transducer. Now the transducer is that probe you hold in your hand. It is where the piezoelectric crystals are arranged. So they are the ones that send out the ultrasound, and they are the ones that receive the ultrasound. So this is what happens. Let's follow the arrow. Yeah. So what happens is it all starts with the pulsar. The pulsar is the transmitter. This is where the trigger for electric voltage starts, from the pulsar. Then it goes to the transducer. The transducer sends out the ultrasound wave, which bounce on the organs of the body, and the returning echoes go back into the transducer, triggers small electric voltage in the piezoelectric receiver. Then it flows through to the receiver here, and the receiver amplifies whatever information that is coming from the transducer. When it has amplified it, it sends it to the memory. In this memory, this is where the write and read occurs. That's why they call it a scan converter. So from that point, when those things I explained earlier, when it has formed enough information to form an image, it is now sent to the display and the recording device, which is either your printer or whatever it is. So let's look at them one after the other. Now the pulsar produces the electric voltage bursts that are sent to the transducer. In response to each voltage burst, the piezoelectric crystal in the transducer vibrates to produce a pulse of ultrasound. Typically, the pulsar may send like 10,000 voltage bursts per second, like poof, 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 10,000 in 1 second. Now, this transducer contains the piezoelectric crystals. In response to each voltage burst from the pulsar, the crystal in the transducer vibrates, converting the electrical voltage into pulse of ultrasound. So it is at the transducer, the electrical voltage, those bursts of voltage up to 10,000, and that's where they are converted into ultrasound, to sound. After each ultrasound pulse is transmitted, the transducer then starts to receive the returning echo produced by the pulse. Upon reception of each echo, the transducer vibrates again to convert the echo into a tiny electric voltage called the echo signal from the transducer. The echo signal is sent to the receiver. So the transducer is like the ear and at the same time the mouth. So it talks and listens, talks and listens. Now the receiver, it is essentially a sophisticated amplifier. It receives the echo voltage from the transducer and it amplifies whatever voltage. So if you have a single voltage signal coming, it amplifies to several hundreds. Then straight to the memory, what we call the scan converter. This is the component that puts the image together. The memory consists of a matrix, which again divided into small boxes called pixel for address location. For two parameters characteristics. Like remember I said time and amplitude. So each echo location is then determined from the time, and echo brightness is determined from the strength. When an echo signal is received from the receiver, It is stored in the memory at the correct location, that is pixel, or what we call pigeonhole. Now, I'm sure you are beginning to have a dramatic representation for all these things in your mind now. So when the correct location of pixel, well, it is stored in the memory at the correct location and pixel, that is a pigeonhole, and assigned a number, what we call the binary number in computer language, on its amplitude. So every amplitude receives a binary number. As each echo is received, it is stored in memory until a complete image is created. Once all the echo data for one complete image has been stored in memory, the data can be read from the memory and sent to the display. So whatever thing you see on the screen, it takes the memory to convert these images, the converter to convert these images. And remember, it waits until significant data is gathered to form an image. Now the display. The display is the TV or video screen that we view while we are scanning. The image information is read from the memory and displayed on the TV monitor as shades of black and white grayscale. Now we have 64 shades of gray, right? Strong echoes are white, highly echogenic. Mid-level echoes are gray, echogenic to hypoechoic, and very weak echoes are almost black, what we call echo poor or sonolucent. And no echoes are completely black. So long as it's an echo, it's not completely black. Just take note of that. What you call anechoic or echo-free, but it is not completely black. Ultrasound system produces a real-time sequential display of grayscale image with a frame rate of 15 to 30 frames per second, so that our eyes can perceive a flicker-free, continuous real-time images. So that's why you see when you move your probe and you do your examination, there's no flickering or pixelation of the image. Why? Because of the speed of the frame rate. Remember, we're talking about 15 to 30 frames per second. So that it gives you a continuous and movie-like motion. The recording devices. A recording device is used to obtain a soft copy or hard copy of the image for temporary or permanent record of a scan. Many different recording devices can be used. These are, you have thermal printer, which all of you are familiar with. Laser cameras, floppy disk, DVD, pen drive, RIS, multi-format film camera, videotape recorder, CD-ROM, Blu-ray devices, HIS, and PACs. So with this information, I know you now understand and appreciate your scanning machine better and treat it well. Most people don't treat their scanning machine well because they don't even know it. They just go ahead to study pathology and anatomy of the sonography and but when you see people who are properly taught, the way they treat their scanning machine is always different. They clean their probes, they place it correctly, they cover it after the day, they switch off the socket. Why? Because of the knowledge of what is going on in the scanning machine. The scanning machine should be your best friend. And we hope that maybe in the next free live lecture, we should be able to bring a system specialist or application specialist to talk to us about how you can appreciate your scanning machine and make the most out of it. So if you're interested in our course, it's very rich. It will make the best sonographer out of you. Please send in your email address or phone number indicating your interest or specialty that you're interested in, and we'll send you information and when you can begin. So register with us and improve your skills. Thank you.